Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I want to do September faves and fails, and as well as that I'm also going to declutter some of my palettes at the end of this video, so make sure that you are staying tuned, subscribed, and hit that bell notification. Alright, so the first product that I want to talk about the first fail of the month of September was these Urban Decay liners, the palette, and basically everything to do with the Stone Vibes collection. Now, in addition to Urban Decay, there's been some disappointments from ColourPop. We'll be covering that as well. So let's go ahead and start. Urban Decay Major Gems, good quality, not worth the price. Next, these mini Too Faced, not good because it's very repetitive. The pumpkin spice, I will say it was okay, so I'm gonna probably have to consider it much better than the Marielle, because Marielle to me was just really bad. It was like half of the palette was super patchy and the other half was pigmented, but I still couldn't get a full look out of it. So I'm going to put the Marielle palette in my fails of the month, and then the Nikki Tutorials Beauty Bay palette. I actually really like that palette. I know that some of the mattes were harder to work with, and I know you guys are looking at this thinking, well, what did she really even use? But I really can't wait to do more looks with it, and I'm going to consider it one of the faves of the month. Then we had these ColourPop Garden Variety Jelly Much eyeshadows. Now, the problem I had with these, and I think it's not always across the board with Jelly Much eyeshadows, because I had the Villains one and that one was working fine. These do tend to dry up a little bit, and then the consistency is just, I mean, I don't know if you guys are noticing this, it's almost like a cream, and then you get like bits of shimmer. It's not even across the board, and you'd have to work with a very small amount to get a little bit of like shine on your eyes, and I already don't like how it's forming on my hand. It really is not a consistent formula, and I would not want to use this again. So I would definitely consider these ColourPop Jelly Much eyeshadows, both of them. I mean, the first one was worse than the second one, but as you guys can see, when I try this one on, it's just like a little patchy, and after a while you'll see that it dries down to the glitter separating from the cream, and I just think those were a waste of time. Another product was these terramoons singles. I got a bunch of them. I don't have them all in one palette, but I actually love all my terramoons, and I will be buying more from them. Then I got this Drop Dead Gorgeous palette from BH Cosmetics. I talked about it a lot in my other video, but after playing with it a little bit more, I noticed the mattes are a little bit chalky and not quite what I enjoy personally, so I think I would consider that as one of my fails of the month, so I'm going to put it to my left side. Then I have these Too Faced lip products from their holiday collection, which I explained in detail in my previous video why the scent was just not as great, and those were considered also a fail for this month, as well as the Garden Variety. I know I haven't used this as much, but you guys can see how patchy these colors are, and even for ColourPop that usually has some good quality products, I don't know, for me, I just didn't really like this palette, and I felt like they dropped the ball again with this release, so that was also a fail of the month for me. Now, as you guys know, I also picked up a trend mood box this month, and I got the skincare products, and to be honest, neither of them worked great for me, especially not the Boscia, because the product was really tingly on my skin. Now, the Glow Recipe one had fragrance in it, and that was the only issue. I didn't have any issues with it at first, but honestly, after like a week or two, I started noticing some dermatitis around my eyes, and I won't be posting pictures here, but I just wanted to say that neither of these were a win for me, so definitely part of fails of the month. Alright, let's talk about Huda Beauty. So Huda came out with some purple haze, khaki haze, haze and a sand haze this month, and I briefly reviewed khaki haze for you guys earlier this month. It was super glittery and I had a lot of fallout, just like Mel Thompson and explained in her video. She was saying it was hard to work with, and even though she used a lot of primer, it wasn't as good. So even though I don't always agree with other YouTubers, I find that I had the same experience with this palette. It didn't work so well for me, and it was very much patchy in some areas, especially the shimmers. Now, one thing I do recommend over this palette, if you really want a true khaki vibe, is definitely get this Nomad palette by Juvia's Place, and you just see that the color, the pigmentation, everything is just so much more superior at a far less cost. So definitely pick up this one instead. And okay, so what products actually did work in the month of September? Well, first of all, I was very surprised and blown away by this LA Girl Break Free palette. It's like $9 at Ulta right now, and I was really impressed with the quality of shadows that you're getting. I think you can still buy it. It hasn't sold out yet, and I think it's a good deal. Another one that I saw this month was this Opera palette. Actually, I did not really like this one. And I know I'm not the only one, because if you look at the reviews for this palette, a lot of people complained about the quality of it. So I might actually just keep the back of it for a Z palette, because I do need a good Z palette. I love the Hourglass palettes, and both of them were pretty good. Even though they were very similar to the ones from 2 years ago, I ended up keeping them. One thing I did not like and I did not appreciate was anything from the ColourPop Candyland collection. Literally everything from this line was a disappointment, from the patchy shades to the lip products to the Super Shock blushes. Like when I put that Super Shock blush on my face, I felt like within an hour I had glitter everywhere. Even though it smells really nice, I just couldn't figure out how to work with this. And I noticed a lot of people have this problem with just Super Shock eyeshadows, unless you just love having glitter all over your face. So this is definitely a fail of the month for me. Now, we talked extensively about these mini Too Faced palettes and compared them with the years before. Really, the only new one was the Salted Caramel, and that one, just for the neutral shades, I'll just put it as not a fail for the month, just because the favorites of the month are so little this month. And as you may have guessed, the number one favorite of the month was the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I know I pointed out in a video that Natasha really had to dig hard to get these to work for her swatches, but for me, I just thought they were decent enough to be ranked as one of the favorites of the month, along with the Juvia's Place, and as well as the LA Girl Break Free palette, as well as the Too Faced Pumpkin palette, and also the Nikki Tutorials and the Urban Decay Mini, if it wasn't for the hefty price tag. But yeah, I think Natasha Denona stands out again, just because her competition isn't that great, and everything else to me this month was pretty much a fail. So let's do a quick declutter on products that I'm getting rid of this month. Number one is the Huda Rose Gold palette. I have the original Huda Rose Gold palette, and I'm getting rid of that, mainly because I have so many repeats of these shades in other palettes, and also because so many dupes came out. And by dupes, I'm talking about some fake counterfeit products that came out online, and that's why they had to redo this whole palette to the remastered version. I just didn't really like it. And if you want to know whether your Huda palette is authentic or not, first of all, make sure you get it from an authentic source, and make sure that the barcode is matching what I'm showing you here. Otherwise, if you're buying it from Poshmark or somewhere else, please be careful about that. Next is the Pretty Rich palette from Too Faced. I literally never got any use out of this palette, and it was too chunky glittery for me, and I don't want to dig my finger into it too hard. I'm honestly surprised that this is still selling for $49 at Sephora, because it had a lot of negative reviews about glitter and fallout, but either way, I'm going to declutter it. Next is the Tarte Contour palette. I feel like we've seen this so many times over. Next is the Capsule palette C2 by Sugar Pill, and I'm also surprised this is still full price, because the pans look really nice in there, but I also have an issue with story palettes that have unusual shapes and sizes, so for that reason it's gotta go. Next is the Lorac Los Angeles whatever palette this was that came out 2 years ago. A beautiful color story, but never reached out for it, so it's definitely going to be decluttered. Next is the Too Faced Best Year Ever, which was 2018, I believe. It wasn't my best year ever, but it was probably one of the better years ever. I think anything before COVID is probably a great year. And when it came out, I really got most of the use of the bottom shades, but after like a week or two, I stopped using it. So that one's getting decluttered, as well as the Candy Johnson palette. I think I never reached out for this because I didn't want to destroy it, but the colors were all basically neutral, and it has like a very light cakey scent to it. I don't think I'll ever reach out for it again, so I'm definitely going to declutter it, mainly because of the shape of the packaging. As you notice, all these things that I'm decluttering has a really chunky shape, and I will also be getting rid of the Pure and Grinch collaboration, also because of how bulky the shape was. This First Aid Beauty came out this year, but I'll talk about it in a separate video when I'm talking about skincare. Lorac Mega Pro 4, again, issue with the chunkiness of the packaging. And then this is the It's My Ray Ray palette that came out last year. I actually thought it was pigmented at the time, but eventually I realized it's never going to get as much use, so that's why I'm decluttering it. I think I'll probably hold on to the Shine Bright by Lorac because it still has some nice colors in there. Their formula is always very silky and fun to use. I can't really compare it with other palettes, so I might just hold it onto it as reference. Now, another honorable mention is the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I think I mostly only used the middle shade here, but everything else, I've always been on the edge of like, should I declutter this or not? And I'll keep it because if I'm getting rid of the first Huda, the rose gold, that angelic color is not dupable with Pat McGrath or with Natasha Denona. I've tried looking for similar palettes that might have that duochromy pink shade, and the Pat McGrath one pulls a lot of yellow in there, and the Natasha Denona pulls a lot of more like champagne color in there. So there's nothing quite like this angelic color that I could find in the Huda palette, so for that I have to hold on to the Desert Dusk palette because I'm getting rid of the rose gold palette. So anyway, these are the palettes that I am going to be decluttering, and let me know in the comment section what you guys thought. If you already decluttered all of these in your collection, what your thoughts were, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.